What is up, everybody? Welcome to episode number 13, lucky number 13 of Bettin N Boozin here on the HHH Racing Podcast. I am your host, Kyle Roscoe, and thank you to everyone for coming out tonight. We greatly appreciate it. This is going to be an amazing show off of an amazing weekend. Not only do we have Florida Derby Day, we have Arkansas Derby Day, and we have Final Four and Championship for NCAA men's basketball. Also, the start of the MLB season is tomorrow, so it's going to be an absolutely insane weekend. We cannot wait to dive into it. And like I said, we're going over to go over the undercard for Florida Derby Day. We're going to have 5 different undercard stakes that we're going to go over. It's 3, 5, 7, 8, 9. If you're looking at your programs right now, those are the ones we are going to be going over tonight. As yesterday, Pete, Paul, and Howard all went over the late pick 5 of Florida Derby Day, which included the Florida Derby, of course. So if you missed that show, please go watch that one. It was an absolutely great show, and like I said, they'll be back on tomorrow to talk about Arkansas Derby Day. So if you're interested in that, please check that out tomorrow. As you'll see on the bottom of the screen, it's tomorrow at 8 p.m. Eastern. So if you are interested in that, please go check that out. If you are new here or you just haven't subscribed yet and you like what you're watching, please go down there, hit subscribe. It helps us out an absolute ton, and it lets YouTube know that this is a show that a lot of people would like to watch, and it will keep pushing it out through the algorithm. So please, if you aren't subscribed yet, please hit subscribe. We would greatly appreciate it. Also, please hit the like button down below as well. That also lets YouTube know through the algorithm that this is a show that people really enjoy. So please, like I said, it would really help us out. Also, my email is scrolling down the screen. That's Bettin N Boozin with no G's. Bettin, the letter N, Boozin at gmail.com. Please email questions, comments, concerns, anything like that on the top. If you are more of an audio listener, please go to Apple Podcasts, Spotify, and Anchor. Those are the 3 main podcast platforms that we post our audio versions only to. So if you enjoyed that a little bit more, even though I'd highly recommend coming over to YouTube to check them out, those 3 are our main. Go check us out on there and rate, review, and subscribe. And the power picks, again, just absolutely been hammering it in 2023. And it's only going to get better from here because not only do we have these Derby preps, we also have the Kentucky Derby coming up in just over a month now, which is absolutely insane to say that time has gone by this fast through all these preps. The power picks are an absolutely great tool to use. It's only $4 a weekend, comes out to about $15.99 a month, which is what you'll be billed. There was a $2.60 ROI in 2022. We are around that mark again through the first 3 months of 2023, and the horsepower average is only 160. So we're almost $1 over the national average. And like I said, it's super cheap, only $4 a weekend. So if you're interested, please go to patreon.com/HHH Racing Podcast for more information. And also, we have a great website, where you can check out like previous editions of the power picks if you're a little bit on the fence of buying or anything like that, which I'm not sure why you wouldn't be, but if you are, you can go check out previous versions and everything about us and the podcast and stuff like that. That's hhhracingpodcast.com. And again, before we get started, I just want to say a great thank you to our great sponsors that help make this show possible. Number one is BetUS. It's a fantastic sports betting and casino platform that offers up to 200 games a day with live betting, plus all these like 300, 400 different prop bets that you can bet on any given day. And when you're depositing money, please use code RACING3H when signing up. And if you deposit $100 or more, you will get a free 125% back on your deposit. So again, that is BetUS. Thank you so much to them for sponsoring this episode. And thank you so much to our friends over at Crownsway Racing, as you'll see Tony Rallo come on later. But thank you so much to them for sponsoring this episode as well of Bettin N Boozin. Series E is still going on. We're going to talk about all the horses that they bought over the sale, as well as go over all the recent success that they've had, which it's a lot. Trust me, that we're up to 5 wins in a row now, which is just an absolutely unreal streak. Tony can tell the story he told me this weekend. He's like, he started out winning 4 in a row. He's like, we'll never do this again. And now we're up to 5. So it's an absolutely great partnership. We had a get together to watch Otago race over the weekend. over 30 people showed up. It was a ton of fun. So if you are interested at all, please email Anthony Rallo at crownswayracing.com or DM them on Twitter at Crownsway Racing. You can also check out their website, which is in the description below the video player, for any type of information needed on that. But again, that's Anthony Rallo at crownswayracing.com if you are interested. Now, that takes up everything that I wanted to get going over the course at the beginning of the show, but don't leave yet, obviously, because we're going over absolutely great stake races and some pretty tough ones. Honestly, there's not too many that have pretty clear-cut favorites as we go through them, but there are a few that will stick out. But there's a lot of them that probably have lukewarm favorites coming into the day. But I'm going to go over right now. I'm going to bring on my co-hosts right here from the East Coast to New Jersey, Patrick Kuenzel, and from the Ohio State University, Charlie Freeman. Boys, we got the whole band back together tonight. How are we doing today?
Yeah, finally. Yeah, it's good to be back.
Yeah, it's good to have the whole gang together. Never thought it was going to happen at some point.
I know Patrick's been gone for like 4 weeks in a row or some crap like that. I don't even know how much it is at this point, but I'm just giving you shit, Patrick. It's all good. Obviously, school and everything else comes first, but he's got to bet and booze with the boys as we go through. And let's see who's in the chat early. We had a few good questions earlier in this week, like Barry O'Brien said, any long season baseball bets you like. And again, no bias here, I promise. There's no bias in my answer. But I was cooking them up. Obviously, the MLB season starts tomorrow. My two plays that I really like are Toronto Blue Jays to win the division at plus 200 and the White Sox to win at plus 300. Again, I promise no bias, but plus 300, they're the third favorite to win that division after having absolutely everything go wrong for them in the last season. And like I said, the season before that, they won the division. I don't know. That plus 300 seems ridiculous to me. I'm going to take that every single day of the week. And not only because they're my main team that I love to watch, that just seems ridiculous to me. So I'm going to go with those two as well. And Patrick, we can touch on those later if you want to, because I know you're a big football guy as well. But Michael Austin is here. Hello. Thanks so much for joining the show, Michael. Greatly appreciate it. Stephen Vanderbrook. See, one of our most astute viewers. Hit the thumbs up button. Thanks so much, Stephen. Greatly appreciate you trying to help out the show. Jim, thanks again for I know he texted. Jim was texting me all night on Sunday night just saying, congratulations on the Otago win. Well, of course, we'll let you know, whether it's on here or on Twitter. I retweet and tweet a lot more than probably I should on these horses than my picks. People are probably more concerned about the picks than the horses running, but I put everything on Twitter. So at AP Roscoe K, if you are interested. And I also put a brand new segment on my Twitter that's called Dash for the Cash. It's my last name Roscoe. For those of you that know, Roscoe Dash is a rapper that a lot of people know. But I started this new thing on my Twitter that I post every single weekend, mostly Saturday, but sometimes I'll throw a bonus one in there for Sunday. But my picks always go up on Twitter. And again, that's at AP Roscoe K if you are interested. But again, thanks so much, Jim, for joining the show. Trish Smith has to go Florida Atlantic. Look, the Cinderella story. Patrick loves it. I mean, look, who would have thought? I mean, UConn. Charlie, I'm gonna get on you that one for later, you donkey. But Florida Atlantic, a 9 seed, and they have a good a shot as anyone. I mean, like I said, UConn looks really formidable, but they're on the other side of the bracket, so they have as much chance as anyone to get to that championship game. And hey, everyone loves a good Cinderella story. So Trish, again, thanks so much for joining the show. Really appreciate it. Penn State Scott, long time no see, man. I bet UConn wins or Patrick and Charlie goes on another vacation. Look, hey, whether they'll love me or not for it, I might say the latter. But UConn's looked really formidable in all those games.
You're not getting any money with UConn. They're the heavy favorites. So
that's true.
I don't want to talk about UConn. I'm very upset at my school's fire alarm systems. Yeah, I got scammed out of an all-time call.
Yeah, you're a donkey. You know that, but it's just the way it goes. And I don't even know what they were at the beginning of this. It had to be something ridiculous.
I picked them on March 1st. It's in an email, and they were plus 2,500. They were going to be my long shot pick to give out way before the tournament. And, I mean, it looks beautiful now. They've looked like the best team in the tournament. They're going to win the tournament.
They definitely have looked like
the
best one.
Watch out for FAU, though. I'm telling you, FAU.
Hey, FAU is a special heart. My grandparents' house in Florida is a few minutes from there. I've been to the campus a few times. It's a nice place. They're not winning. I saw them firsthand playing against FDU. They're not winning the tournament.
I mean, look,
I think the winner of Miami UConn's winning.
San Diego State looked a little shaky last game. Granted,
San Diego State's defense is ridiculous. Their offense is shaky at best. But I had them. I guess I didn't have them this far. I had them in the Sweet 16, but they're a team I have a lot of respect for. They're a veteran team, very good defensively. Offense is shaky though, for sure.
Hey, like I said, they have as good of a chance as anyone. I mean, who would have thought that the highest seed or the highest seed going into the Final Four would be a 4, and it would be 2 5s and a 9 rounding that as well. It's just, I mean, it's March Madness, baby.
It's crazy. No 1 seeds, no 2, no 3. Yeah, I mean, I had UConn as a Final Four team. They don't surprise me, but I can't lie. Even though I believed in Miami, I believed in San Diego State. I didn't believe in them to get this far.
Yeah, I mean, Miami's also looked like a really good team. Let's not give short them any credit. They've looked like a really good team up to this point.
Right, it looked like Texas was going to run them out of the gym, and the next thing you know, they came back and won.
And I was sitting at the bar celebrating the Otago win, and I had a nice live bet on Miami when they stoked that comeback at like a 15-4 run or something ridiculous. But yeah, that game looked as good as over. But anyway, as we pause the sports talk for a little while, as we're going to get into these stakes races, as like I said, there's just absolutely, they're tough, but they're really good betting races as this time of the year they should be. So guys, we're going to go into the first race. Like I said, we're going to talk about, excuse me, Jesus Christ, that snuck up on me. The first race we're going to talk about is race 3. It is the Cutler Bay Stakes for $100,000. A field of 9. Most likely, I would say that the favorite is going to be the number 6 Dunedin for Louis Saez and Kelsey Danner, Crownsway's own. I believe that horse is most likely going to be the favorite as I bring up the picks right now. I think we were pretty close. This is the first time these guys are seeing anyone else's picks, but obviously I saw them as I had to throw them on there. We are very similar. Patrick's honestly the lone man out here as I throw him on the screen. Charlie and I both have the same top 3. We're both going with the 6, but Patrick, you're going with the number 4. That is, what's it called? That's behind enemy lines. Yeah. I bring it up right now. What do you like about this one?
I mean, this horse is shipping over from Ireland, from a good trainer, Joseph O'Brien. Won last time out at even money. I think this horse is live. You can debate this horse liking this turf, but the horse has been training over here for a while now, for over a month. So I'm going to give this horse a shot. I have the 6 in second. Do I think the 6 is unbelievable? Not at all. This horse has to actually get that distance and has never run at the distance. So, I'm going to take a shot with the 4 and we'll see.
Hey, look, and that horse will most likely coming overseas for Jack Sisterson, who's not necessarily known for his foreign shippers. I assume this horse will probably be at least a middling price at best. I'll never talk anything off of a price, anyone off of a price by any means, but I went with the 6. Charlie, you also did as well. Did you have anything on the 6 that you want to touch on that Patrick didn't?
Yeah, so number 1, I like obviously with the time form that it's good in the early and late, so there's no real concern either way. Seeing Louis Saez, which is a jockey upgrade, is also nice to see. And also, I mean, I've talked about this on the show before. I know you and I think very similarly with this. We both really like to see an upwards trend. And, you see that 25 figure in its first race, obviously very concerning. And to get all the way up to an 82 just 4 races in is very exciting to me. The horse also had a bullet workout recently. I just think this is a horse that's continuing to develop and trend in the right direction. And I think its best race is yet to come. I just continue to see it improving.
I completely agree with you. And obviously, I have this horse on top as well. I absolutely love the race 2 back. The one at Kentucky Downs in a $25,000 allowance race. Granted, it was restricted. You could say whatever you want, but those 6.5 furlong races, which to your point, Patrick, where you were talking about the distance for this horse, I have with that race at Kentucky Downs, which 6.5, most likely people kind of compare it to a mile almost on the turf, just because of the undulation and everything that goes on at Kentucky Downs. So with that race run, that horse ran super well. Granted, at 20, you can say it wasn't bet down at 22-1, but I mean, that's the race that installs confidence in me. And the fact that it went to a grade 3, granted it got 5th, but only lost by a half a length in one of those bunched up turf races. But again, this horse continuously improves, and that race 2 back makes me completely confident this horse can get the distance. The only question obviously on the screen, as you can see, is the layoff. This horse last race in October of 22. But look at, these works. He raced he's been working weekly on the work tab at Palm Meadows. I won't say Prairie Meadows this time. I'll say the correct Palm Meadows. But its last 4 workouts, 48, 49 and 2, 49 and 2, 47 and 4. So Kelsey, as obviously that's one of the trainers that trains Crownsway horses. She's not necessarily known for getting horses really worked. So the fact that this horse is working really well means a lot to me. And the fact, like I said, for that Kentucky Downs race, that installs confidence in me that this horse can get the distance. Charlie, you have the 8 in second. I have the 8 in third. That is the number 8 King's Fortune for Eclipse, Irad, and Pletcher for some really high profile connections here.
Yeah, so I like the high profile connections, obviously. I think also, again, a horse usually has a very good opportunity to step forward when it's on its second race. I think this is a horse that they probably would like to try to see on the turf. I trust the fact that Pletcher has it on the turf, that they know what they're doing with this horse. Again, anytime you really see Irad and Pletcher together, it's usually a very dangerous combination and one that does not lose very often. They tend to dominate at Gulfstream. So I would not be surprised if this horse wins at all. I don't think the distance will be a concern. I think as long as it doesn't start too far back and can just stay relatively in there, it could make a move off the pace. I think it could win, and you could certainly, I think, get it at a reasonable price. The one concern, though, is I don't think it'll be as reasonable as it could be because of the connections, and I think the safer bet is the 6 horse. So that's ultimately why I have it in second.
I completely agree with everything you said. And the thing that turns me on to this horse is this synthetic race that it ran. It was off the turf. You can see with the diamond and the X through it.
Right.
This Pletcher always had turf in mind for this horse. The fact that it got rained off is just, it is what it is. Obviously, you can't control the weather, but horse ran a really respectable 72 first time out. And the fact that Pletcher, again, the thing that I've been learning over this past few months, ever since I met Howard and all that stuff, my mind on handicapping has completely changed. It's actually insane between him, Matt Miller, and all these different people that I've been, so blessed to know and be able to bounce ideas off of, is basically how these horses are meant, how Pletcher thinks of these horses, and the fact that this horse won a 72, granted, didn't even get to run on the turf, but ran such a good race and a decent number that Pletcher is able to throw him right into basically the dog's lair, the wolf den, and throw him into $100,000 stakes race for a first turf race. I think this horse is really well meant for Pletcher. I think second time out, this horse can really take a step up. And again, for those profile connections, I completely agree with you, Charlie, that, you might not get the price that this horse probably should be just because of these connections. But anything at probably 5 to 6 to 1 or higher, which I'm not even sure this horse will even be. But this horse will definitely be interesting and in the mix for me as well. And Patrick, I'll let you close out with the number 3 that you have is Harry Time for Lino Reyes and Saffie Joseph.
Yeah, listen, this horse finished second to Farbridge, who is a stud in the Clement barn. And I just think, you know what? Coming back off that race, did that horse really have a shot against Farbridge? I don't think so. But the horse was bet. So, in this field, I think the horse has got to might hit the board and has run 2 solid races. So I'm going to give this horse a shot.
Yeah, and I think the big thing is that obviously you can see the red time form figures. This horse for me, this horse might have just benefited from really fast paces up front. But look, if you're looking for a horse to close out your exactas, again, this horse might not be that high of a price that it should be. The fact just because it has Saffie Joseph on it, and we all know how well Saffie gets bet down at Gulfstream Park. But look, if you're looking for a horse, probably decent middling price to about an 8 to 1 horse that close out your exactas and tries, this is definitely one, because if the pace heats up in front of him, he can definitely close for sure. So I'm going to switch right now, guys. And obviously, like I said, since we're not covering a pick 5 sequence, that was race 3. We're now going on to race number 5. which I believe, as I switch the picks right now, it is, sorry about that. Obviously, as Howard says, pressing many buttons on the backside here. It is the Pan American Stakes presented by Root and Riddle. It's a grade 2 going 1.5 miles. And as I put on that, we are all pretty similar, honestly. I actually don't have the 8, but we all have the 3. Charlie and I, again, are going with the same winner on top. The number 3 Masterpiece for Jose Ortiz and Safi Joseph. Patrick is going the number 4. Actually, neither of us have in anywhere. Again, Patrick's going on top with the horse that we have nowhere. It's Rise the Guy for Leperoux and Wilkes. Charlie, actually, since Patrick's got lone man out again, I'm going to let him go first. So as I switch the picks right here, what did you like about Rise the Guy?
Yeah, listen, this horse ran last time out in an option claimer, and it was brutal with Leperoux. Didn't get bet at all. I actually think this horse just I don't even know. The horse came off a long layoff. The horse needed a race. The horse was running in some pretty big races prior to that. I just think this field is more wide open than we actually think, and has been training well. I'm going to give this horse a shot. If I was playing a pick 4 or something, I'd be going deep in this race. But this horse switched to the turf. When it's been on the turf the last 3 times, and the previous 2 races are solid races, getting into the money. So I think those 2 races might win this race. So I'll give the horse a chance.
Look, I completely agree with you in that regard, and the fact that those back 2 races are what really turned me on to this horse. But this is the big thing, guys, and I'm going to put us on screen for this one. This is why, in my opinion, that these like the meaning of these horses, it's like the back end. Look at this horse's last race was March 4th of 2023. If you go 2 back to its really good races, this horse raced October 22nd of 2021. So this horse has not raced in 1.5 years prior to that race. And obviously, after a long layoff like that, a horse could definitely need a race to get itself back in the swing of things. And obviously the race was just not good. He was brushed at the start and just never really got going at all. But again, if this horse runs anywhere near these races, this horse can definitely be put into contention. But again, the only thing is this horse going to be the horse that it was 1.5 years ago? And that's the question to answer. But again, this horse is going to have a decently early foot in a race, in these 1.5 mile races where not a lot of early foot ever partakes. Obviously it's not the biggest deal in the world, but again, it's just the pace factor is what can really make some of these races, if not all races, obviously. So I love the pick. Like I said, this horse will definitely be up there in price. So again, I'm never going to talk anyone off a long shot by any means, but Charlie and I are most likely going surprise with the chalk. Charlie, what did you like most about Masterpiece?
I mean, I love everything about Masterpiece. Obviously, starting with the fact that it has Safi Joseph Jr. as the trainer who just dominates Gulfstream outside of Pletcher. And I mean, if you want to talk about things that I look for, I like these longer distance races because I prefer horses off the pace. And even in hot paces, his horses manage to sit off and close up. And I mean, if you want to talk about, I know as much as I say I like to see progression, but put that to the side for a second. You want to talk about consistency, look at those speed figures. They're absolutely ridiculous. The fact that every single race is roughly a 97, 98, or 99 is absurd. I just think this horse is consistent. It puts up great results. It's gone against probably the strongest competition of anyone in this field. And I feel like in a race like this, where it's tough competition, a lot of decent horses, you want to find that horse that is anywhat consistent, and this horse is that. So I just feel like it's the safest bet. You're probably not going to get the best price on it. But since there are some other high-profile jockeys and trainers in this, I think you could get a better price than you might expect.
Yeah, I definitely think this horse will end up being the favorite. I'm maybe about 2-1. I think you might actually get less than that, just based on the consistency of form that you spoke. I know a lot of people are going to be, a lot of people tweet me, and a lot of people will be in the comments here about, does this horse just kind of have second-itis, or just has not really showed that it can prove the results. Obviously, as you can see in its last 10 races, this horse has only won once. Granted, it was a grade 2, and the fact and these races that this horse has been running in are just miles above. I mean, this horse ran in the Mr. Diamond, in the Pegasus World Cup, and the Breeders' Cup Turf, and the Del Mar Handicap. I mean, these are really, really high-profile races, and this horse is not far off by any means. I mean, 1.5 last, 7th, but by only 3 lengths to, again, horses like Ivar, Atone, Breeders' Cup Turf, obviously, against, Rebels Romance and all that type of stuff, who unfortunately ran into an absolute monster in Dubai in Equinox, but in his last race. But again, the Des Moines handicap losing to Gold Phoenix, who was also in the Breeders' Cup Turf. And I mean, this horse is just running against this competition to where I think this is not much, but definitely a lot easier spot in this type of regard. So if this horse can run its race and cash in on that 97 buyer, I think that'll win this race. And the fact that I think this horse only really gets better with distance, as you can see in the mile and 3/8 races, because comparatively to the mile and an eighth where he gets 7th, I just think that this horse needs a little bit more ground to run into to be able to achieve those types of results. So I love everything about Masterpiece in this race. Patrick, did you want to add anything to Masterpiece before we move on?
Yeah, listen, I have Masterpiece in second. I just, I was going to say to Charlie, I'm going to play devil's advocate and, talk about, we could talk about the buyers all we want. This horse just really has not won. And I get the races have been strong and stuff like that. I mean, listen, in the big races, Breeders' Cups and stuff like that, Pegasus World Cup Turf, the horse didn't show up. Big buyer, don't get me wrong, but just wasn't there. So I don't know. Listen, this horse could, is going to close on this field and might, chop them all up and get him at the wire. I hope that happens, but I don't know. I don't know how much I could see that happening. And someone makes a good point in the comments. I don't know if Masterpiece turned around this quick. This might be the first time they've done this, so it's interesting.
Yeah, it'll most likely be about a month layoff. So it's definitely to your point, Penn State, Scott. It's definitely a good point as you can go through. I mean, May to July is 2 months, July to September. That's about a month. So it's about that month area. Obviously, it's probably about 5 to 6 to 7 days sooner than some of the turnouts, but it's definitely a great point to bring up, especially in a horse that likes to have a little bit of time off in the interim. I'm gonna talk about my 7 real quick, and I'll let you guys finish up with the 8. Look, I'm gonna get so much crap for this. I'm putting a Bond in second. I've absolutely hated this horse in its last 3 races. I remember all of them. We talked about the Gulfstream one. I don't remember if that was the start of this show or it was just before that, and then optional claiming race. I hated him there. I hated him in the last race, and then the Belmont Gold Cup. I hated him because I just did not think. But this horse, I don't think this horse is going to have any type of extremely hot pace in this race, and that's going to be my one angle. I mean, Pletcher is still throwing him in these types of races to where he still sees something in this horse. It's just a matter of, can this horse put it all together? Obviously, this horse has ran at 1.5 miles, at 2 miles, at 1.5 miles. This horse has done really well, just hasn't showed it as of late. But again, I just don't think this horse is really going to run into these fractions to where it's going to fade like these last 2 races. And if he runs anywhere near to those mid to high or mid 90 buyers, I think this horse can really be put into contention with this given pace scenario in this race. So I know, hold your fire, hold your pitchforks, but I just think this horse is a lot better than what it's shown in its previous races, a little bit muddy up for him. And with the pace scenario, I think this horse could definitely be a little bit dangerous. And Charlie, I'm going to let you finish up, and then Patrick, you can talk, and then maybe I'll give my 2 cents on Bay Street money.
Yeah, so for starters, I love that a Bond is in this race. I think it's great because it's going to be a really fast horse that's going to go right to the front, and it's going to be a Pletcher horse that gets bet way down and disappoints everybody, and ideally helps the 3 close better by making these other horses chase. So I think it's a terrible horse, but I love everything about it because it does everything to help the 3. And if you want to bet against it, it helps everybody else as well because people are going to overplay it just because it's Pletcher and think that same thing, that he must know something that it's going to finally show up, because it never will. Now, for Bay Street money, I kind of have a personal thing with this horse. On one of our other shows, I gave it out as my winner. I really did believe in this horse. So honestly, when I was looking at this field, I don't know, there were a lot of questionable horses. I saw a lot of red flags more so than green flags. But I don't know, I'm kind of banking on it taking a step up and getting in the exactas or something. Again, I have a personal connection with this horse. I like Michael Maker. I like Luis Saez. I'm just hoping it pulls something out of the bag and has a career performance.
Yeah, Patrick, do you have anything to add to that?
No, Charlie nailed it on the head. Looking for improvement. Maker's been solid to start the year, especially at Gulfstream. It's just like I said, this race doesn't really get me going with any of the horses. So I'm going to give Bay Street Money a shot.
Yeah, and I'll give my 2 cents before we move on to the next race. This is they did, and that match Michael Austin brings up a really good point. They kept stretching to get him to this spot. I don't know if this is the right spot for this horse, really. Granted, get Sias from Maker, but I don't know if this horse is really gonna like this type of distance. I mean, this horse has really run nothing to this caliber. Longest ran was last at 1.125 miles at Fairgrounds and just never really stayed on. Granted, Fairgrounds has been a really weird turf track, as any of you that have watched Fairgrounds this winter meet has known. Obviously, in 2 Emmys is in there, so you know that they went absolutely glacial fractions in the middle of that. Arlington Legend 2 Emmys, might I add. But I just don't know if this horse is going to want the distance. I could be completely wrong, but there's not a whole lot of. I was looking at the breeding of Bay Street Money. I just don't see a whole lot of marathon. If I go to collect the cash, if I remember correctly, yeah, this horse, if I bring it full screen here, this bottom right here, I'm going to take down the banner as well. This bottom right here, marathon for the dam, all of its progeny, this horse is 0 for 14 at races of 1.25 miles and up. So that for me, I just was not sure of the distance on this horse. So that's the only reason I didn't pick it in my top 3. But again, it could prove me completely wrong. Obviously, Maker knows a lot more than I do for sure. But that was my concern with Bay Street Money, was the distance. So, and again, just to close out here before we move on to race 7, I'm going 3-7-1. Charlie's going 3-8-2, and Patrick is going 4-3-8. Guys, as I bring up race 7, the picks are here, and we all agree that as I agreed as well. This is kind of a 3-horse race on paper. As I bring it up right now, race 7 is the Ghostzapper Stakes, 1.16 miles on the dirt. We are going with, it's the big headliner in here is definitely Simplification, who follows the same street of thought that, can this horse ever just win? Because all this horse does is run third, basically, it seems like. But Patrick again, or no, Charlie, I'm gonna let you go first to talk about Simplification, obviously, because we all have the same horses on top.
Yeah, I mean, this is a tough race. I don't mean tough in terms of who to look at. I think we all have the same idea again that this really is just a 3-horse race. I think the problem is really figuring out which of these 3 you can truly believe in, because none of them are all that convincing in my opinion. I really just went with the 3 because, again, I like the consistency, and I feel like this is clearly the easiest spot it's been in, and kind of just feel like it's at the point where if it's gonna get back on track with a win, it kind of has to be now or never. It kind of reminds me of like a horse that's ran against for like when White Barrio recently got brought back down at Gulfstream and took on a significantly easier field, and then obviously it was much more of a favorite than I think Simplification would be. But it ended up dominating. That's what I kind of see with Simplification. I just think it's been running in a lot of difficult races, and that this is this horse's chance finally in a much easier field to just get back on track with a win. And I do think it can just get a beautiful stalking trip with this field. And I don't think win easily, but I do think it should win this race.
I agree. Look, this horse has just been running against. I mean, this horse has not had an easy race, to its credit, in a long time. I mean, if you just go down the list here, you can just see monster after monster after monster. I mean, obviously with the Gulfstream Mile endorsed, Charge It. I mean, down Art Collector ran that massive race in the Pegasus, and the Harlan Hardy Skippy Longstocking, Cody's Wish, Taba, Early Voting, the monster who works well, Rich Strike. I mean, sorry, I had to throw that in. Obviously, it's a Kentucky Derby, but I had to throw that one in there. For my good friend Paul on the other stream, I just think this horse, this is a much, much, much easier spot than this horse has been running in. And granted, he's racing in some really nice horses in this race as well, but I don't think it's going to be to the caliber of someone like Charge It and Endorsed, or Cody's Wish, or Taba, or anything like that. So if this horse is going to win a race, it's going to be a race like this. So I'm going Simplification. I don't think I need to touch really any more on that by any means. And I'll let you guys close out, honestly, with the 5 and the 4. Patrick, I'll let you talk about First Captain, who's coming off a little bit of a layoff for Suge.
Yeah, I mean, this horse won his first 3 starts at Belmont. Just hasn't really done much. Won the Pimlico Special. Got gotten the money in the Suburban, but just has been all around, but has been training tremendous. I think this trip for this horse, if there's a lot of speed on the front end, might this might be the horse's race. I could be wrong. The last race is a little bit concerning, but I really do think this horse, this might be the race for this horse.
Yeah, and look, people are, the thing is going to be is that layoff, and obviously coming off the Fayette, I mean, is what it is. Wes Willpower just ran an amazing race over at Oaklawn, I believe, if I'm remembering correctly, or Fairgrounds. I think it might have been Fairgrounds, on Louisiana Derby Day, but it just comes down to the fact of, is this horse going to be ready off the layoff? And Shug is obviously an extremely good trainer, but he's not too well known for coming off of really long layoffs. And you can see in the top right there, I actually wrote down the stat in the last 5 years, a 3 to 6 month layoff for Shug is only a 16 for 115. So he's only about that 10% range or something like that. I just think, again, this horse has run really well off the bench before. As you can see down here, came off the bench about 7 months late at Saratoga, coming back to Gulfstream and actually won by a head, beating a horse like Doc Amster. Granted, it was favored 4 to 5 in that spot. That's an easier spot to come back in than this, but it's just going to be the matter of, can this horse win? And as you'll see later, my double does include First Captain as well as Simplification. So it's just going to be a matter of, can this horse be ready? And that's going to be a little concern for me. But if this horse is ready, this horse has as good a shot as anyone in this race. And obviously, and Patrick, your top pick, I'll let you finish off with this one. You're going with O'Connor, which is the Powered and Eyes mistake of the Pegasus World Cup.
I was gonna say, correct me if I'm wrong, but the boss here had this horse pegged in the World Cup. So, listen, I mean, this horse showed. I mean, first time out, this horse looked like a monster. I should say, first time out in the States. Maybe a little freshening up for this horse. It's going to be a shorter trip. Listen, you know what? I'm taking a lot of shots because, you know what? I think this is the type of card where it's bombs away. This horse hasn't faced much of this competition yet. Ran fourth to Simplification. So, I think this horse is going to be bet, especially because it's Saffie Joseph. And I'll give this horse a chance.
Yeah, I mean, O'Connor, definitely going to give him another chance because, you don't know exactly. I'm just not sure how really. And again, this is definitely the mistake I'll own up to. I just really don't know how good this horse is.
Yeah.
This horse ran 2 big numbers coming over from Chile. I just really don't know how good this horse is, and he's going to be third for me. Sorry, but with everyone else in this race, if he runs anywhere near those numbers, he's going to beat everyone else. I just don't know if he's good enough to beat the likes of First Captain and Simplification in this type of race. So I'm going to put him in third. I'm going 3-5-4. Charlie's going 3-4-5, and Patrick's going 4-5-3. Guys, as I switch the picks over now, then the next two, they're all in a row. So we're going 7, 8, 9. Now this is race 8. As I switch it right now, it's the Orchid Stakes. I believe this one's for the fillies and mares going 1.5 miles. So it's just the fillies and mares version of that same race we talked about before. And as I bring the picks up right now, we're all pretty close again. We all have the same top 2, or the top 2 in our top 3, except Patrick's going with the 8 in third. But Patrick, I'm going to let you go first, as I'm going to let you talk about my top pick as well, who's Amazing Grace, coming over from Germany for Christoph.
Yeah, listen, I'm not very good with detecting, the good overseas horses and stuff like that. And actually, when I did one of the podcast episode with Howard, he explained how he views handicapping overseas shippers, and it's actually a great listen. So give that a listen. But this Christophe Clement horse, this horse was running in Group 1s and was being bet tremendously. Ran third last time out to Rebels Romance, who we know was dominant when was in the States. This horse has been training fantastic. Would I like to give this horse maybe a race? Sure. But listen, I think this horse might be the goods.
I completely agree with you. There's not many times that you get to see a lot of these horses that come over from Europe. Granted, this is, it's a really nice race over at Gulfstream on Saturday, but there's not many times you get to see the likes of horses running against Rebels Romance and stuff like that, and running in grade ones or group ones and group twos over, granted, in Germany, which people argue is not, not as good as somewhere like France or England. But I mean, look, it's still group one racing. And obviously if Rebels Romance is there, it's a good race for sure. And this was just winning group twos at 1.5 miles over there, and getting bet down as well while doing it. Look, this horse could really just be a lot better. And those time form ratings on the left-hand side, general terms, the scale is kind of down 15 to 20 points for a buyer. I usually just say 15. I mean, that's a 97 buyer in a race like this. And if this horse can be like close up, I watched that last race at Cologne, and Rebels Romance just flew up the inside to defeat San Marco, but Amazing Grace was coming on late. So this horse I don't have any worry about this horse getting a distance like this. It's just going to be the matter of, is this horse ready off that layoff and with the shipping? But I think this horse could realistically, just like you said, just be the goods in this type of race. So I completely agree with you there. Charlie, I'm gonna let you talk about your top pick, who's actually the horse to her outside. I'm gonna finish my beer for that one. The horse outside, personal best for Shug and Irad.
Yeah, so this is a horse that had a good workout. I mean, again, Irad dominates at Gulfstream. He's been on this horse multiple times and has had strong performances. I was actually back and forth between going with this horse on top and the 3. They raced each other recently. But ultimately, I just like the spot that this horse is in. I like that it can sit in that stalking trip. And I think that's a very good type of style to have to be successful at Gulfstream. I see this one sitting right off of the speed. You can see it has a decent early pace and a very solid late pace. So I think it'll just sit right off this pace and then be able to make a strong run late without being too far behind. And that's ultimately how I landed on the 6 on top. And I also like the consistency. It really kind of looks like after that layover in October, once it came back in November, it started to make some improvements. Granted, it had that 82, but I think that was more so because it was off the turf, and this is more so a horse that is meant to be on the turf. So I really do think the 6 is dangerous here.
I agree. I mean, I have it in second. I just think this horse is going to set a really nice trip in this race under Irad. I mean, if there's any jockey that I would want on a trip horse, it would be Irad. Obviously, won 2 out of the last 3. Well, last one in the grade 3 at Gulfstream at 1.5 miles, which installs confidence, obviously, in me that this horse can get the distance. It's just a matter of where this horse is going to be at the top of the stretch, and if this horse is going to get a jump on a little bit of a horse like the number 5, which actually, watching through its Euro races, the horse actually does like to be a little more prominent, but obviously early speed in Europe is a lot different than early speed here. Horses in Europe tend to be a little bit slower, like out of the gate and stuff like that. So it will have to the horse will have to navigate a trip. But I think personal best, like I said, is going to get the benefit of that trip under Irad and maybe get first run at the top of the stretch. And like I said, if this horse continues to improve, I think this horse is going to be really good. So Patrick, I'm going to let you close out the talk right now with your third, who's the other German invader in this race, in Atomic Blonde with Christoph.
Yeah, I am German, so if you guys are wondering why I keep picking the Germans, you know what? No, I actually am German, so let's not kid ourselves. But Atomic Blondes, another one, has not raced in the same caliber as Amazing Grace has, but is still, personally, I think, raced in races that fit this level, even though it is stake. Jose hops on board. Jose's been great. Has 2 victories with the Clement barn. But there's one problem, and you look, Clement is 1 for 23 with foreign shippers with a long layoff. So, listen, I'm going to give this horse a chance underneath. Will not bet this horse to win, but maybe catch a piece.
Yeah, and a horse like this is definitely the one that you want to be able to catch a piece. And if you're liking it, this horse is definitely going to be a higher price than the other German invader we talked about. It's just not been running in as good of races as like a horse like the number 5. Granted, it's still been running in group company. It's placed once in group 2 in Italy, and actually showed once in a group 2 in Germany behind Amazing Grace, about just over 2 lengths behind Amazing Grace. But Yeah, look, if this horse continues to improve and ships really well and does well off the layoff, this horse can easily catch a piece. Like I said, as it's been racing, it's really good company over there in Germany and Italy, but it just comes down to the fact of I think the other horse is going to be better. And I don't want two horses necessarily doing the same thing if I think one horse is going to be better. So I ended up going with the 5 in this race other than the 8. And again, Charlie and I have the number 3 Transient on top. I'll just finish off really quick as we are going a little bit over. This horse is triple in the money in the grade 3s. The last came back after a decently long layoff in January, ran really well in that race behind personal best, just losing by a neck. And then in the very one at 1 mile and 3/8, shortening up a little bit, just didn't have enough time to get there. So I think this horse does improve with the added bit of distance. It's just going to come down to the fact of, is this horse going to be as good as the Euro? For me, it's not necessarily, because this horse is most likely going to be left a little bit back. Obviously, it's 1.5 miles, so it doesn't make that much of a difference necessarily on where they need to be in the pack. Obviously, you don't want them to be 20 lengths behind everybody, but if they're within the main pack, it doesn't necessarily mean too much where they are. It's just going to come down to, is the Euro going to be the goods or not? I think it is. Patrick thinks it is. Charlie's going with the number 6 personal best. Guys, if I switch to the last race right now, it's race 9. It is the Sir Shackleton Stakes, if I remember correctly, for $100,000, going 7 furlongs on the dirt. And this one we're going to run through a little bit quicker, as we all think it's pretty straightforward here. But Charlie, being the lone man out, you are going to be the starting guy, who the horse who hasn't raced since July of last year. That's my prankster for Saez and Pletcher.
Yeah, can't lie. It's a little concerning that your guys' top pick isn't even in my top 3. At least we all like the 4 and 8 though underneath. But yeah, I don't know. My prankster just excites me. Again, I like Luis Saez, love him here, love Todd Pletcher. Certainly not a cheap horse by any means as well. Most people don't really have that kind of money lying around to buy a horse. But yeah, I just believe that, I know it has been a long layoff, but I trust Pletcher a lot here. The horse has been working decently. And I think if it can run to those figures of the past, obviously its last race wasn't exactly its best, but I think if it can run back to some of those earlier races, it should win this race. I think it is the class of this field in terms of the races it's been in terms of the connections. I just feel if this horse can get back to what Pletcher knows it was once capable of, that it should win this race. I don't think you'll get necessarily the best price on it, because I have a feeling a lot of people are going to think the same thing. I really also like the time form on it, where with it being in the 80s and then in the high 90s for late, it'll probably sit right off the pace. And again, I like those stalker trips here, even though I am more of a closer kind of person. I understand that at Gulfstream, closers struggle a little more, so it's a lot better if you don't like to be a speed guy to look for a stalker. So I really do think this is a good spot for my prankster, and I do think it can win this race.
Yeah, the thing is that is this horse going to be ready off the layoff? And obviously, with a guy like Todd Pletcher on your side, you don't necessarily worry about that too much. The horse is working really well down at Palm Beach Downs. And obviously, like I said, I looked it up. Pletcher's winning 25% off of 6+ month longer layoffs, which is a pretty good number last time I checked, especially at that. This horse loves the 7 furlong distance. Obviously, ran really well at 1 mile, as well as Churchill Downs and the Pat Day Mile against horses like Jack Christopher, which, if you know anything, you'll recognize that name. So this horse is definitely going to be live. It's just a matter of, will it need a race off that long layoff? And I'm betting on that it will. Patrick, we're both going with the number 1, Dean Delivers, for Michael Yates and Miguel Vasquez. Last race in the Gulfstream Park Mile. What do you like about this one?
Listen, this horse has to win one of these. I mean, has been in second 3 times in the last 5 races, 3 out of the last 5, and came in 4th and 3rd in the previous 2. Last race in the Gulfstream Park Mile faced Endorsed to Charge It and Simplification. This horse prefers to be towards the front with the pace. I think this horse is going to prefer this pace. I love Miguel Vasquez on this horse. Has been on this horse pretty much every time. Been training very well. I think this should fit the horse, as well as cutting back to 7 furlongs, where this horse has won previously. So I think this horse has a great shot.
You hit on everything that I like about this horse, Patrick. I love the cut. Again, very minimal cutback, but I love the little distance this horse is gaining back on its side. I love the 7 furlong trip for this type of horse. I love the trip it's going to sit. Granted, I know a lot of people, including myself, really don't really like the rail coming out of the chute at Gulfstream. Is it kind of it has a little bit of a weird effect where the chute's kind of like almost in the middle of the track. That because then it comes to the turn joins it, so it's a little weird to navigate. But experienced horse, especially through that chute at Gulfstream, I don't think this horse is going to have any issue. This horse has only improved after coming back in November after a little bit of almost a 2-month hiatus. Has raced every month since and has been again showing up. I love that this, like I said, I love that this horse is coming back to 7 furlongs. Love the trip that this horse is going to sit. So hopefully Miguel Vasquez can finally get up and win it with a pretty decent pace, with a few decent pace horses in front of him. And we all have the number 8 in third. Charlie, I'll let you close it out since you talked first. It's Collaborate for Jose D'Angelo and Javier Castellano.
Yeah, so actually a horse that it's raced against, Wayburn, who's the 4 in this race. I was kind of flipping back and forth between which one I wanted to have in second and third. Ultimately, I ended up just putting this one in third simply because I feel like, it's faced off Wayburn twice, lost both of them. I think this horse does certainly have potential. I like that it'll, again, get a stalking trip. I guess my concern I have with the 8 a little bit, which is also something I'm a little concerned about with your guys' 1, is I know it does have some wins, but it does also look like a horse that kind of likes to be finishing in those places like right underneath the leaders because of maybe a lack of kick or just not able to get a strong finish. That's why I didn't believe in the 1 horse, and I rather look for a better price. That's why I think the 8 certainly could be a decent price that'll get in the money. Same with the 4. But yeah, I think it's certainly a talented horse. If you are looking for, again, a little more value for a horse that does still have decent figures and has run against some decent competition in its past races, I certainly think Collaborate is a horse to look at.
Yeah, and look, the only thing for me with this horse is this horse has been running against a lot easier competition. Granted, that optional claiming 62 was against horses like White Barrio and Wayburn, so it's not necessarily like that race came out really soft by any means.
Right.
But this horse was started off the championship meet racing at a 35 claimer. Granted, has run really well since, but it's just a matter of can this horse continue to improve against a lot better horses. I think it can, but it might not be on the win end. I'm going to take this horse in third. And actually, I completely skipped over Wayburn, guys. I apologize. But Patrick, I'll let you finish off the conversation with Wayburn.
Yeah, listen, I mean, Wayburn was a horse that, we all looked at, looking back, and we all thought this horse was a dominant horse and just, really hasn't been that great. Last ran in a allowance optional claimer 62 at Gulfstream and came in second, like you said, to White Barrio. This horse, stays at this level. This horse should hit the board. I don't see why not. But it's changed trainers. Previously was trained by James Jerkins, and then switched to Walsh, and then switched to another trainer. So it comes back to Jerkins, which actually I kind of like, and has been training well. So I'll have this horse hit the board.
Yeah, I mean, like I said, Charlie, do you have anything to add on before we move on to our Crownsway Racing, Ed?
No, I think Patrick kind of nailed it. I like that. I really like its last workout. That 47 really gets me excited to think that, again, getting back to the trainer, I think maybe he kind of saw what the horse once was with him in the past, saw that it wasn't exactly as good as it could be, and maybe he's the one that wakes the horse up again, because when this horse was at its best, it was under James Jenkins. So, yeah, I certainly think this horse can get on the board. I don't see it winning, but I think it's a decent horse that's shown some decent potential. And can definitely get there in the exactas or trifectas.
I agree, guys. Like I said, this horse should be a middling price again, so I can never talk anyone off of something like that. I'm going 128. Charlie's going 248, and Patrick is going 148 with me, guys. Thanks again for everything through that. Greatly appreciate you guys going over that. I'm going to give out my best bets, and as I touched on at the beginning of the show, on my Twitter, they will all go out with the dash for the cash on the weekend. But 2 doubles that I love in this are they're 2x1s, both of them. It's in the race 7. It's 3-5 with 5. That is in the Ghostzapper. That is both Simplification and First Captain, with the Euro, the number 5. In the 8th race, that is Amazing Grace for Clement and Rosario. And then in race 9, I'm going 1-2. That's both Dean Delivers and My Prankster, with a race that we didn't talk about, which is race 10, but I absolutely love the Chad Brown in that race, which is market segmentation again for Irad and Brown. I think that horse, I think you can really create value with a horse that's probably going to be 6-5, 7-5 in a double like that. So those are my best bets. And again, those will go out on Twitter on Saturday morning. So again, if you're interested, my Twitter's at AP Roscoe K, where you can find those bets and all my top threes for every single stake race in both Oaklawn and Gulfstream. Please check that out. I would greatly appreciate it. So guys, like I said, thanks so much. Again, that was an absolutely amazing card, and it will be both in Oaklawn and at Gulfstream on Saturday. But now I'm going to get to something that I obviously am extremely excited to talk about, and I know the guy backstage is excited to talk about that you guys, I'm not sure if you guys have heard or anything like that, but this is Crown's Way Racing, and they have absolutely had amazing success throughout 2023, not only and before in 2022, but we've won 5 races in a row. Not, I think we're 6 out of 7, I believe, this year, 5 out of 7. Obviously, Tony will talk about it as he bring him on, but just absolutely an unreal run for me and the other partners, as well as Tony himself. So I want to bring him on so we can talk about the most recent race in Otago, winning the first stake of the year and the sophomore stakes at Tampa Bay Downs on Sunday, and then as well as all the Colts and 2 Colts and 1 filly that he ended up purchasing at OBS March. I'm going to bring him on right now, guys. It's from Crown's Way Racing, Tony Rallo. Tony, what's going on?
Hey, Kyle. Thanks for having me on the show. I got my Keeneland Spring Lager ready to go, so I'm ready to join in.
Absolutely. Hey, and that's a perfect time of the year for that lager, as Keeneland starts up soon, and probably going to be taking 2 trips down to Keeneland as long as our big man races down there on the 22nd. But like I said, it's been an absolutely amazing run, as I touched on, winning 5 races in a row to basically start off the year of 2022, the last one being a stakes race, which we're going to watch on here. But is there anything you want to touch on with those other 4 before we move into Otago's win on Saturday?
No, I mean, I think our trainers are doing a great job getting them ready off the layoff. Smokin' Jay won off the layoff. Richie won off the layoff. And now Otago went off the layoff. So it's been a good job by our trainers to get these horses ready after the breaks.
Yeah, and I mean, that's no small feat by any means, obviously, as you know, but for our viewers, yeah, Richie, but all of Smokin' Jay, Richie, and Otago all won off of 6+ month layoffs, which is an absolutely amazing credit to our trainers, both Kelsey Danner and Jimmy Gulick, for having those horses ready. It's just been an absolutely amazing ride. And like I said, I'm going to bring up the race from Saturday, which is our most recent win, which we had, or Sunday, sorry, excuse me, which we had a pretty fun day that day with all of our partners coming out to Crazy Poor OTB in Villa Park. We had over 30 people there watching Otago. And as I'll talk about, and me and you will talk about what went on while the horse was running, because it was pretty in tight coming down the stretch there, but it was super insane to watch him finally get up, and I'm going to bring it on right now. I'm going to play it. So I'm going to play about a little bit on the back stretch just to show where he was, and at the top of the stretch is when I'm going to let it run out here. Again, this was Otago. He is the number 3 horse right here in the blue cap and the green and blacks, the green and black blocks here. As I go to the back stretch, you can see Armando Aguilar has him in a really nice spot in 3rd, just behind the leader. Obviously, Bapi O is the number 7 here, who's the massive favorite in this race at 4-5. Looked extremely fast on paper, but it's no match for the big man, as I say. But as I move forward here to the top of the stretch, I'm going to let it play out. Tony, I'll let you talk about the race as it finishes up here.
Well, first off, Gallardo did a great job getting this horse to settle.
One
of his problems during the race, during his 2-year-old years, is he was pulling a lot. And I mean, just a very brave run here. If you watch the head on, there was a lot of bumping going on here between him and the horse Chantel was on. And then he just gets through there as the rail splits and puts Bapio away. And he galloped out very strong after this as well.
Yeah, and I'll let that play through as well. As you can see, his ears are pricked as he goes around the far turn. As you have talked to me about, you think this horse can just absolutely run for miles. As this horse is really just meant for the distance and obviously really well bred, being out of Wartrant. So, and like I said, you mentioned that through his 2-year-old years, he was really tugging, and that kind of hurt a lot of his races, like the one at Keeneland, just to think of that one. But obviously, I can let you talk about that as well.
Well, yeah, the Keeneland race. I mean, he ran a very good race, and he was in with some tough horses. General Jim was in there. It was a very nice horse for Shug. And yeah, he needed to settle. That was one thing we were worried about, and he did it really well, especially coming off the break. You expect him to be a little bit fresh, but took that jump forward from 2 to 3 that we want to see, and I think we got a bright future ahead with this one.
I think we do as well, and I apologize. I meant Antonio Gardo. What I think I said Armando Aguilar, which is not even close, realistically. So I do apologize to the viewers for that one, but. Look, even though, people will say, the rebuttal will be, state bred stake or whatever, but to have a horse win off of a 6-month, 7-month layoff coming into a stake race like that, where the horse really has never been, granted, he was in the Laurel, but that was on the slop, where we lost to a really nice horse in Congruent, which was also at a live event for the HHH Racing Podcast. That was that was the second pool party we did, which I'm sitting there screaming. Everyone's, looking at me like, what the hell are you screaming about? And just saw Congruent pass us on the inside, but
we had company this weekend.
Yeah, they at least
the OTB.
Yeah, at least we did. And like I said, that video is on my Twitter and on Crown's Ways Twitter as well, if you want to check it out. There's just a massive amount of people. As he came up the inside, we're all screaming for him to get up, and then he gets bumped on the inside, and you get the lull, and everyone goes silent. And then he gets to the inside, and everyone starts screaming again. It was an absolutely amazing time. But Tony, we'll talk about why we're really here, and that's Series E. That's the new series that just came out for Crown's Way, and it started off with a pretty big bang at the OBS March sale. Obviously, I have all of them here, but and I'll let you talk. I'll let you kind of hit on all of them, but I'll bring up obviously all the specifics as we go on.
Yeah, no, we we had a fun sale. A lot of times you go to those sales and you get outbid. But we were lucky. The ones we were on, we were able to get for the prices that we wanted. And I think we converted on some nice horses. I guess really we'll know the answer to that question in a year or two from now. But right now I feel good about what we were able to achieve, getting the 3 horses at the sale.
Yeah, and look, I mean, obviously, being a partner, but I was extremely, extremely happy with the horses that they got. And obviously I'm going to bring them up right now. And we have tack video of all the horses' workouts, right. And obviously that'll come into play with one of the colts that we ended up buying you ended up buying at the sale, excuse me. But the first colt that they ended up buying, that Tony ended up buying, was HIP 167. It was Copper Bullet out of Unique Ride, which was bought for $60,000. And as I bring on a picture of here of that Copper Bullet colt, what did you talk about your process? What did you see in this colt when you wanted to buy it? Obviously the tack video is really good, which we'll bring up as well.
Yeah, this was one Kelsey put me on. It's an up and coming stallion. He's this is the first crop Copper Bullet. Copper Bullet was a runner for Steve Asmussen out of More Than Ready, or by More Than Ready, and he's a big, good-looking colt. Size-wise, he's similar size already to Otago. And he reminds me, not to put the expectations on him, but he does remind me a little bit of Otago, maybe without the big Speightstown pedigree. But I think he's a very exciting horse. And, if you want to show the under tack, I can kind of show you what we were looking for with him.
Absolutely. And as I bring it up right here, this was obviously, there's 2 horses. So there's 2 horses that worked 1/8 of a mile, and then the Buchero colt at the end worked a quarter. But as I play the Copper Bullet work right now, and I take this off the screen, what did you see obviously with this horse? Is this horse really, I think it's a really good mover over the ground.
Yeah, I mean, it's a big long stride. I'm not worried about time with this horse. This is a 2-turn horse. He's not 1/8 of a mile horse, but you can see he stretches out very easily, and he'll go on to have a massive gallop out at the end of this. And we just really like the way he moves, and we think he's the typical kind of horse for Kelsey's program.
Yeah,
I like to give her big, striding turfy type horses. I'm not sure if he'll be turf or dirt, but he looks like the typical Kelsey kind of horse along the same lines as an Otago or Long Shadow, who is another stakes winner from her barn. He kind of reminds me of those two.
Yeah, like when I was looking through, obviously I had no life, so I was watching this all the way through. This right here, if I can't pause it correctly, but the absolute long stride, that the long reach that this horse has as it goes by the camera, you can just see it's just absolutely reaching out. Just gobbles up so much ground, and obviously it worked the 8th and 10 and 2, which is really not a bad time in the grand scheme of things. But I actually said this is one of them. Obviously, you sent the ones that you were looking at. This is one of them I sent back to you. I was like, this horse he's really moving over the ground really well. So like I said, I'm very happy, and obviously. I was joking around with you that, this is the one that we might have to name something after the White Sox, as this horse has 4 massive, as I bring up the picture, obviously this horse has 4 massive white socks on the bottom and the old white face. So obviously I was joking about that one with you, but I'm very excited for this colt as well. Like I said, out of did you say this was Copper Bullet's first crop or second?
This is his first crop.
It is his first crop. Okay, because it was, which one was the Buchero was the second crop, correct?
Buchero was second crop, yeah.
Okay. Yeah, they all blend together in my head at this point, man. But yeah, I love that. I love the like I said, I loved everything about this horse as it goes through. And obviously this one's going to Kelsey, like you said. And obviously, and to premise out, you can see it all scrolling out at the bottom of the screen. All shares of these start at $500. And then Tony, I know a lot of people actually have got in from the show. But is there kind of a timeline you're looking at for the end of Series E, when the buy-ins will stop or something along those lines?
Yeah, exactly. We're cutting it off at the end of this weekend. So
okay.
The time is of the essence now. We wanted to wait and cut it off after we've already acquired the horses. That way people can kind of see if they're interested in these horses before buying in. And I don't think there's any reason not to buy in with what we got. So,
hey, I completely agree with you. Like I said, this is the perfect show, because obviously I've been a part of Crown's Way now. God, it's almost 2 years at this point. Yeah. It's Arlington. So which is absolutely honestly obscene to me at this point. But obviously all this horses behind me, all the winner's circle pictures are all courtesy of the man himself right here and his team. So it's been an absolutely great ride. And like I said, for $500, you can get a part of these 3 horses and probably some more, right, Tony? Are you still thinking of claiming some horses?
It really depends on how much money we raised in this last week here. If we do well coming on, I may add another 2-year-old or a claiming horse. But if this is where we top out, I'm fine going to battle with these 3 horses.
Hey, I agree with you for sure. And Matt Miller's in the chat, who actually surprised us and showed up at the OTB. He said the scene at the OTB played out like an advertisement. Incredible incitement. The entire Crown's Way team exploded as the horse got through on the rail. Spectacular fun for all. And literally, that's only the tip of the iceberg. Because like I said, I'm just speaking from my experience alone. I was able to go to Belmont last year to watch Smoke and Jay run in the Jaipur. I've been to Keeneland. I've been all over the place to watch these horses run, which is a perk that comes with Crown's Way Racing, that they offer the paddock access, the winner's circle access, and everything like that for these horses, which again, to me, obviously being a young guy who's, always dreamed of doing stuff like this, that I was able to do it when I was so young is just absolutely, it was insane to me. So I would not highly recommend it more if you're looking for my opinion on it. And Racing Downwind, thanks so much for joining the show. Nice looking horse. Look, the Copper Bullets, like I said, they've been coming out really nice at these sales, and they've been selling for pretty decent amounts. So I'm very happy with what Tony was able to get at the sale for $60,000.
Yeah, he was definitely turning a lot of heads down there. He was a horse that, of the 2 more, I'm a huge More Than Ready guy, and of the 2 More Than Readies, both first crop were Catholic Boy and Copper Bullet. I went down there looking at a lot of Catholic Boys, and I came away really liking the Copper Bullets. That's not to knock Catholic Boy.
Yeah.
I think he's going to have a nice career as well, but I was super impressed with what I saw of the Copper Bullets.
Yeah.
And thanks for Matt to coming out. It was good to have him at the OTB this week.
Absolutely. And that's a little shot to you, Paul Halloran, is the Catholic Boys, but no, he's a big Catholic Boy fan. So I wanted to give that little jab to him. So as we continue on here, The next hip was hip 491 that I want to touch on. Then we'll go into the Buchero one last. It's out of Gormley, out of Get Down Kitten, which is out of Kitten's Joy. It's a $35,000 purchase, which is to go out of Carlo, or to be trained by Carlos Silva. What was kind of your thinking on this one?
Gormley was a stallion I had liked from the beginning. He kind of has not gotten off to the start that I think a lot of people thought he would have. It honestly reminds me of the start of Cairo Prince, where he had a ton of hype starting out, and then they didn't run as well as I think people expected them to right away. And the market kind of gives up on a horse really fast, and that was the sale. Then we were able to add Smokin' Jay and Jones Way, who were both Cairo Princes. So kind of the same kind of thinking led us onto this Gormley, who was one I was on when we went down there. This one that was on my list from the beginning, and I think she's a very athletic, good moving filly. She's well balanced, and she might be early as well. She's going to head up to Indiana to Carlos Silva pretty shortly.
Yeah, and I mean, like I said, I'll let you talk through the undertack as well. But again, just another nice mover going through the 1/8 of the mile here.
Yeah, she like I said, very well balanced. She's a good mover. She's fast. Working in 10 flat is an accomplishment, and she honestly reminds me a lot of a filly we had in the past, Judy's Way, as far as the sale price, kind of a little bit under the radar with a young stallion that worked fast. And if she could have the kind of success we had with Judy's Way for a $35,000 price point, that would be more than good. We would be definitely very happy with that.
Yeah, obviously, and I was able to get on her for a little bit of her success as well. And yeah, if the horse can make, close to $200K for that 35 sale price, I'm sure a lot of partners would be happy with that as well. But obviously, look, these 2-year-olds, they all show a little bit of promise. But this one, again, there's another one that I sent to Tony when I'm just a no-lifer that watches horses run 1/8 of a miles all day long when the OBS sales is going up. But I thought this one was another one really moving well over the ground, and obviously working in 10 flat for a horse, for Gormley, who really hasn't shown too much on his stallion series yet. But again, like Tony touched on, those Cairo Princes really didn't show anything at first either, but then they turn in, then as they mature and as they goes through his stallion career, they tend to turn up. So I'm completely in agreement with you, Tony, but I don't want to keep you here too long. So is there anything else you want to touch on about the Gormley filly, or do we want to go on to the headliner, as I call him?
Well, on the Gormley filly, besides Gormley being on top, you also get Kitten's Joy and Dynaform on the bottom, which, I mean, both two really good turf horses there. I don't know if the filly is turf or not, but there's distance in the pedigree. She moves like a horse that go quick. She's kind of a horse that I can see doing any kind of thing, and we'll let Carlos work on her. He's done pretty well with us, especially with the babies. Between Smokin' Jay and Judy's Way, we're both first time out winners. So let's see what we have with this one, but we're excited about her.
Yeah, that's the one thing that I also was going to touch on before we left, was that Carlos Silva has done with the 2-year-olds for Crown's Way, and obviously a lot of people knew him as a jockey. Not too many people know him as a trainer, but yeah, with the babies especially, he's really done a really nice job to be able to get them ready for these races. And obviously OBS are 2-year-olds while they're still in training though. So a lot of these horses might end up going to the track pretty quick. And obviously that's due to, that's up to the trainer, and that's up to Tony and all that different stuff as well. But again, a lot of these OBS horses tend to get to the track a little bit quicker than, something like, obviously the yearlings, but those are a year earlier and stuff like that. But I would say look for some of these horses to be at the track pretty quick. Wouldn't you say, Tony?
Yeah. The plan right now is for the Gormley filly. She's going to go up to Indiana probably in the next week or so. The Buchero is already down in Palm Meadows with Kelsey, and the Copper Bullet, because he's such a bigger type horse, we decide we're going to give him 30 days turnout at the farm and let him tell us when he's ready to actually get into real racehorse training.
Absolutely. But like, that's a lot of things that, a lot of these people want to hear is about, how quick will these horses get to the track? And obviously, I know that's a big thing that you preach, is you don't like the big, the long time that these horses take the track, especially when partners get in for like yearlings and stuff like that, where they have to wait, over a year and a half while they're paying, their share money for the maintenance and all that type of stuff to be able to get in. So like I said, I know that's something you preach a lot with these 2-year-olds, that how they'll get to the track kind of quick.
Yeah, I mean, as far as buying them as 2-year-olds in training instead of yearly, that's kind of why we do that.
Right.
But we don't want to rush them and ruin them or anything like
Well,
that.
no, right. Of course.
We'll take our time and let them tell us when they're ready. I just happen to think we got 2 that might be ready sooner rather than later. So we'll start them out, and then if they give us any reason to tell us to stop, we'll stop. But
Right.
I think the 2 can probably get to the track pretty quickly.
Yeah, and of course, I mean, that's why I think we have 2 of the best trainers in that regard. Is, I mean, they're both really in touch with these horses, and if they're, if they're not ready, they're not going to send them to the track when they're not ready. They're going to be, especially, I mean, both of them, but Kelsey has done it before. I mean, with Otago, where, we thought, he was ready, but then he wasn't. Keeneland, we had him ready for Keeneland in the spring of last year, but then it just turned, he just wasn't ready for any reason. So then, for whatever reason, obviously she deemed and he waited a little bit more. So don't think that these trainers are going to send these horses to the track when they're not ready. If they're ready, they're going to send them out. If they're not, they'll turn them out at the farm, or they'll keep them in training and do whatever they need to do to get them ready for the track. So that's another thing that I really like about the trainers that we have here at Crowns Way. And obviously, Tony, there's only one horse left to go, and it's the big one, in my opinion, at least the headliner, which is that Buchero colt we were talking about. It's hip 406. Again, I call him the headliner. Buchero out of Cynthia's Fury, which is out of Utopia, which I have, which is a half brother to a black type stakes winner as well. What was your thinking when you first saw the Buchero colt?
Just athletic and speed. He's kind of everything you like from the first 2 horses combined. He's athletic, he's well balanced, but he's also got some size to him. And yeah, we think he's very mature, which is the reason he went straight to Palmettos. And yeah, we're very excited to have this guy in the team. He's joining the same team right now. That's our Smoke and J team and our Otago team with MBS Stable. And hopefully we can keep the luck going and add a third really nice horse to the group.
I was going to say the first 2 horses in that group have done pretty well, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah.
But I mean, obviously this is the thing that everyone looked at. This horse worked the fastest quarter of any horse that worked a quarter at OBS March. As I played the absolutely amazing Undertech video, please talk through it and tell us exactly what you saw.
Yeah, just a very good mover. You could see he switches his leads down the lane. I'll kind of point out when he does that. But yeah, we're very excited about him. The Bucheros, they've been runners. This one has a older sister that's already a Florida bred stakes winner, and being Florida bred is something nice to have too. This horse is about to change leads, right?
It's gonna be right here, I think. Yep,
right there. He switches leads and kind of finds another gear. And then for a horse that worked this fast, he also had a really good gallop out under not much urging. And yeah, we think he's very mature, and we think he'll get to the track quickly, or we hope. You never know for sure, but
right, of course,
definitely has a lot of potential. And being a Buchero, it's not a very commercial sire. Buchero was an awesome Indiana bred, and he's just not a lot of people are that familiar with him yet. But he's thrown runners, and I think if this horse had a more commercial, well-established stallion already, this horse would have probably brought over $500,000.
Yeah, probably. I completely agree with you. And as I bring on the screen, is that Florida bred filly that that our Buchero colt is the half to is my Sassenach, who's trained by David Brady, who at Gulfstream in 2021 won the Florida Sire Desert Vixen Stakes, which is obviously a black type stake. But again, this horse has already the dam has already produced a great stakes winner, and obviously, like you said, Buchero is producing a lot of runners, so that combination could be pretty good.
Yeah, we think he's going to be a really nice sprinter for us, maybe a turf sprinter, and yeah, Buchero was an excellent turf sprinter, probably one of the best Indiana breds of all time. So we're excited to add this one to the team.
Hey, like I said, Tony, I can't hide my excitement. I know it portrays out a lot, but I can't hide my excitement in here. Obviously, as I'm a part of Series Z as well as Howard, if you follow Howard on Twitter, he posted his video of actually where he officially bought in to Crowns Way, which was at the OTB on Sunday. Then that absolutely crazy experience there. But again, Series E, they start at $500 for these 3 colts and possibly adding one more later. But again, I love what you guys did at the sale. You guys have caught a lot of really nice horses. I think for pretty small prices relatively, obviously, to everybody else. But to get a horse that like I said, worked the fastest quarter and everything else like that. I think it's an absolutely great get for Crown's Way, and the fact that, like I said, it's only $500 and you get the paddock winner's circle access and everything like that. Obviously, and like I'm sure you'll touch on before you go here, Tony, what goes into that $500. I'll let you talk about it, but that $500 covers maintenance fees and everything like that for 6 months. And obviously, whatever else you want to touch on here, Tony, what that $500 get you.
Yeah, so you write us a check for $500. You don't have to worry about any sort of maintenance for at least 6 months. Ideally, hopefully the horses have hit the track and made a little purse money, so we don't have to do any sort of cash call after those first 6 months. But with 3 2-year-olds, the goal is to get out of this year without having to do a cash call. But I think we got a chance to have some early runners, so that'll be nice to have. And yeah, I mean, we've just had a lot of fun with it, as you can attest to. We're on quite a run right now. 5 in a row is something I didn't think would accomplish. But when we have these nice horses, I mean, Richie has come back.
Yeah,
he's stakes place. Talking Tipsy's taken off. Smoking Jay, obviously, and he's doing excellent. Otago's doing really good, and we still have Trafalgar Shore coming back, the nice Indiana bred. So we posted the Boys Are Back video on the Instagram years ago or a few weeks ago, and they did all come back firing. So
yeah,
shadowing there.
Yeah, little bit, but hey, when the boys come back in town, Tony, there's not many places you can hide. You can't keep us on the rail forever. That rail opens up at some point.
And for Bettin N Boozin, I mean, Jay and Richie both came back at 9-1, and what was Otago the other day? 12-1,
13-1.
13-1. You can't knock those prices either. So
no.
Hopefully some people have been betting along and can use that money to get into Series E.
Yep, and hey, eventually they'll learn. I mean, I gave them out every single time. Look, that 9-1 and plus is looking always juicy, and man, I mean, it's definitely contributed to my big run that I've been on these past few months for the podcast. So, like I said, Tony, thanks again for coming on the show. Greatly appreciate it. Cheers to you, my friend. I'm running out here, but like I said, thanks again, Tony. And for anyone that's interested in contacting you for Series E, again, it ends this weekend, as Tony touched on earlier. So please, time is of the essence. There's still time to get in. Tony, where can they get in contact with you?
The best way is probably on our Twitter. Both inboxes are open to reach out to me there, or at the email address anthonyrallo@crownswayracing.com. And yeah, so time is of the essence. TikTok. It's time to get in, and we're going to have some nice runners coming up.
Like I said, thanks again, Tony. Greatly appreciate it. And I'm super excited for everything that's going to come our way, and hopefully to the viewers of the podcast for the rest of 2023 and onwards. So again, thanks again, Tony. Greatly appreciate you coming on.
Thanks for having me, Kyle.
All right. Talk to you later. Thanks. All right, guys. So real quick, we're not done yet. Don't go away real quick. If you're interested in the NCAA tournament, please stick around as we go over we're going to go over really quickly here, as we're going pretty long here for our Bettin N Boozin show. We're not the flagship show. We don't get this long normally. So, just please, if you're interested, please stick around. We're only going to go about another 5 minutes, or so. So please stick around as I bring on our co-host, Patrick Kuenzel, right now. Patrick, I can tell you what, I don't know if you entered in the Bettin N Boozin pool. I tell you what, I think I might be in dead last. I'm going to be honest with you. I might be in dead last.
Listen, this bracket's a disaster.
Well, that too.
It's, between Miami, it's just everywhere you look in the Final Four in all the regions. You just, besides UConn, you can't put it together how you could possibly pick these teams to make the Final Four. But hey, listen, here we are. I mean, Miami's a good squad. They've made it to the Elite Eight the last 2 years now, for the first time for the Final Four in a long time. They're playing UConn. UConn we can consider a blue blood. Their point differential in the tournament is just disgustingly good. And then you look at the other side. I mean, San Diego State is playing, incredible. Their defense has been unbelievable, and they're playing an FAU team who people forget. Charlie was knocking them before, but
Yeah.
people forget they were 33-3. That doesn't just
Yeah.
happen by accident, and
No.
that's why. If you want, I'm just going to go right into it. That's why I'm
You're
going to
good.
take FAU. I think San Diego State. Don't get me wrong, they were a very heavy upset contender against Charleston in the first round. They faced Furman in the second round, and everybody was backing Furman in that one. And then it was just like, all right, you got Alabama, you got no shot. Well, they play defense, they just destroyed them
Yep.
defensively, just
Yep.
crushed them. And then in the Elite Eight, it's that Creighton game was incredible. They've all
Yep.
been close, and they've all played stellar defense. I do think though FAU's offense is very, very good, and
Mhm.
they have the guard in Daniel, and then they have this kid Elijah Martin, who I just think this team is. It's unheard of that we're going to hear of Florida Atlantic in the national championship.
Yep.
I get it, but I think they got a shot, and I'm going to run with them for the money line, and then I'm going to toss in one little player prop parlay, and I'll toss it to you. It's Elijah Martin, the guard from FAU, over 10 points, and North Chad O'Meara, the center for the Miami Hurricanes, over 10 rebounds. UConn hasn't seen a center rebounding like this. Sonogo is going to have a tough time with O'Meara, and that parlay turns into plus 166. So that's my little Final Four parlay. I love Final Four Saturday. It's great.
Yeah, absolutely. Not to mention, it's not to no pun intended. It's parlayed with everything else that's going on in the weekend, which is unbelievable. I put on the just to highlight your O'Meara pick. He's averaging over 10 rebounds for the rest of the for the entire the entire season actually. So he's averaging 10.1 rebounds. I think personally that FAU, if they were to face anyone, I think they got the best matchup in accordance to who's left. I think Miami's
I agree.
team is extremely physical, which might downgrade FAU's chance. I think San Diego State's defense is really good, but again, as you touched on, their FAU's offense has really showed what they can do. Granted, again, it's a Cinderella story and everything like that, but I think they have the best shot as anybody to make it to the national championship. That UConn Miami game is going to be extremely good. I'll say that right now. And like I said, Miami's extremely physical with the ball. UConn is a very, very good offense. It's going to be a really good game to show. I'm going to go. No, fuck it for the boys. I don't even give a shit. I'm going to go Florida Atlantic. I'm going to go FAU, and I'm going to go UConn, but I'm going to take UConn to win it all. I think the Cinderella story ends there, but I just think the way UConn's playing, and like I called Charlie a donkey earlier, he is a donkey. He gives out the pick, but then doesn't take it himself. I'm going to stay on that. Especially
That's how
if
that works.
I know,
That's how
but
that
especially
works.
if UConn wins, I'm
Oh.
so giving him shit about that. Dude, that 2,500 is looking really spicy right now. I'll tell you that much. But like I said, if UConn can get past whoever gets past the UConn Miami game wins the national championship. I don't see anyone from the left side of the bracket getting in and winning. At least again, that I could be completely wrong. As I've been apparently throughout the entire damn thing of March Madness, but and I'm not in dead last. I did check. I'm like fourth from the last. I'm not dead last. As long as you're not last, but it's fine. But yeah, just an absolutely insane March as it's been. But I'm gonna take UConn and FAU, and then UConn to win the national championship. But like I said, whoever gets out that right side of the bracket, I think, has an extremely good shot to win the national championship. And right before we go, guys, I want to touch on the Bettin N Boozin bracket pool. Is obviously we're into the last weekend, so we have to check on what's going on in the pool. As first place right now is Brendan Finn with 660 points, but
UConn.
he does not have the winner. He had Houston. He does have UConn in the Final Four, but that's it. So he's completely done on points right now. The only guy that can surpass him right now is the guy below him, and that's it's ESPN fan. He actually didn't have an ESPN account, but whoever this is, he had UConn to win. And obviously he didn't have anybody else, as a lot of people didn't. But if UConn gets into the championship, he wins. It's all based on who wins that right side bracket right now. because obviously you could see right now this guy's completely maxed out. This guy has UConn down here, but obviously if UConn wins, it's gonna be complete. It's gonna be blocked by the guy in second, obviously DJ Poirier. If I go through, yeah, all three of his people are actually at the same Final Four as him too. So UConn's the only one. So it all comes down for the Bettin N Boozin pool. It all comes down to Saturday in the UConn Miami game. If UConn wins, ESPN fan, whoever it is, again, obviously they didn't have an account, but whoever it is will vault up in the first. If not, Brendan Finn will take home that free $100, as that is up for grabs this weekend. And I love that it's come down to the end. Granted, it hasn't come down to the national championship game, but it's come down to the end. So, Patrick, again, thanks so much for coming on today. It's been an absolutely great show covering the undercard of the Florida Derby, as well as Charlie, who had to go do his school stuff, which is classic Ohio State fashion. They go away before the buzzer. And again, thanks so much to Tony Rallo for coming on for that Crowns Way segment. It's greatly appreciated. And thank you to all the viewers that came out for tonight. It's been like I said, it's been an absolutely great show. So for my co-host Patrick Kuenzel, and again for Charlie Freeman and Tony Rallo, this has been Kyle Roscoe in episode number 13. Lucky number 13 of Bettin N Boozin here on the HHH Racing Podcast. Thanks so much, everyone. Have a great night.